Welcome to the December edition of Ask the AD with Weber State Athletic Director Jerry Bovee. I'm Paul Grua. Jerry, we got through the fall sports now. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Now it's into the winter sports, but the calendar keeps moving on, and always some things going on at Weber State.
We're transitioning. Football is completed. Our fall sports are completed, and we're doing the postseason wrap-ups that we do with coaches and all of that. But we're well into the winter sports now, and it's exciting.
Season keeps rolling along. First of all, we want to talk about some news that came out not long ago involving the GSR, the graduation success rate, and academics, APR, all that stuff. Sometimes you hear those words, but maybe we should fill fans in a little bit on what that means and where Weber State stands.
It's a good time to talk about that. Fall commencement comes up in 2 weeks or a week and a half, and we're excited about that. That's always a great day when you can see your athletes walk across the stage and the culmination of all of their experiences. We did recently announce the NCAA put out all the GSR ratings for all of the Division I schools in the country, and we came in as a department at 78% graduation rate. So there is a little bit of a distinction between the Fed grad rate, which we're required to send to the federal government, and that number has something to do with the financial aid that comes. It's a campus number, but we also do a athletics department student athlete number as well. The Fed rate is a little bit different than the GSR. A few years back, some time ago, the NCAA put together a different rating system because in athletics we deal with transfers a little bit more than the normal student. And so the Fed grad rate does take into account missions and military service, but not transfers. So you could have a kid that comes up to the last year and transfers to another school. It's listed as a non-graduate, whereas the GSR takes those out of the mix as well. So your GSR is going to be a little higher than your Fed rate. It's a little bit more representative of what we do in athletics, and to have a 78% graduation rate is a big step for us.
And that's for all athletes across the board, 78% graduation, which is quite a bit higher than the normal student body average.
Yeah, it is a lot higher than the student body average by 25 percentage points or so, but it also represents the work that the coaches do, the emphasis we put on academics here, and it coincides with our APR rating. Now, APR is an NCAA rating that's more real-time. That GSR rate represents what a student-athlete did that started 6 years ago. The APR is a time-sensitive time print this year of what we do, and it encapsulates your eligibility as well as your retention, which takes into that account the transferring part of the GSR. And our rates are very good. All of our sports are well above the threshold of 930, and some football had their second highest rate ever this year, so we're excited about that.
Obviously, athletics, we're involved in wins and losses, and of course, you always want to win and provide some entertainment for the community, and that's important. But at the end of the day, the mission of the university, of course, is academics and graduation.
Yeah, and we've found that there's a direct correlation between the academic side of the house and how they perform on the field, so or the court or wherever they're performing. It does relate, and when both of those things are kind of harmonious, then you see some really good success. So to see that continuing to blossom and grow shows the commitment of everybody, including the community, but also the resources that we put toward this with the opening of the Stadium House this year, and the tutors and the academic advisors and all of that team that helps those student athletes.
President Chuck White recently talked to Wildcat Club members and said how athletics is the most visible part of the university. Again, the mission of the university is educational, but athletics is such a visible part of that.
Yeah, and I think he hit it on the head, too. He said it's probably not the most important thing we do here. I mean, we're about education, but it certainly drives people to the university, and it's a visible part of the mission. And so we have to be very good at all of those things, including what we do on the court, including what we do in the classroom.
Absolutely. Well, this past fall, it was a terrific year for the Wildcat football team, finishing 7-5, finishing 6-2 in Big Sky play, and third overall. Second back-to-back winning season, and advanced to the playoffs under Jay Hill, just the fifth time ever in the playoffs. Terrific year. As you look back on this season, what stands out to you, and how does the administration feel about the accomplishments of the team?
Well, really proud of Coach Hill and his staff and the team and what they've done. I think the biggest thing is we're seeing the continued progress, the hard work that it took when he came here to get from 2 wins to 6 wins to 7 wins, a playoff berth. Now, we didn't perform well in the playoffs. We didn't didn't meet what those expectations were for ourselves, but it was a step in the right direction, and kind of continues to raise that bar. Academically, we're doing very well with the program, and they're engaged in all of that. So now, we go day one from the time that game's over, we get home, they're on the road recruiting, and that's a big part of the season now, is the recruiting season. So very proud of what we've done. I'm really excited about the fact that we're winning games at home, and we've been very good there over the last 3 years. Now we've got to continue to win games on the road and grow.
Let's talk about the playoffs a little bit and how that process works. Obviously didn't get an at-large or an automatic bid, so we knew an at-large was a possibility. Lost that game to NAU and weren't sure with 7-4 if that was going to be enough. Tell us how that process works and how you were informed of it.
There's a committee that's in place. We do have a representative. Jeff Tingey at Idaho State represents the Big Sky on the selection committee. He never gets to see the last game of the season when we play there because he's always back in Indianapolis for that selection process. But I got word late Saturday night that looked like we would be in the mix. We did receive an at-large berth, but we weren't the last team in. We weren't even the last of the 2 teams in. So we were clearly in with an at-large berth. Had a chance to host. We'll look at how we put a bid in the future to host. It's Thanksgiving weekend, so you have to be reasonable in your bid to host. But we'd like to host a game. I think our fan base would enjoy that. I don't know that we've ever hosted a playoff game, so we'll get better at that in the future as we're in the mix. But all in all, it was a great experience. Chattanooga was a great town. We had a chance to connect with them in a different way with the donations that were made by our fan base. I think we topped $9,000, and that was really a touching thing there as we got there and interacted with their folks. So all in all, it was a good experience, and we expect more good experiences in the future.
So as you said, as soon as the team got back, they went right out recruiting. Now preparations for 2017. So the 2017 schedule is now finalized, and it starts out on September 2nd with a home game against Montana Western, an NAIA team, not a Division I team. First time Wildcats have played a team that's not a Division I team since 2008. We also have 4 conference games, and we play non-conference games at Cal and at Sacramento State. Football schedule we've talked about before. And I know you don't want to play a non-Division I team, but it kind of worked out and it had to happen this year.
It did, and our fans, hopefully they know that I've been talking about this in the 8 years I've been here, that we don't want to play these games if we can help it. It doesn't really help us in the playoffs per se, but in the end, we got to have home games. And when we scheduled South Dakota to a home and home, but it wasn't a back-to-back home and home, it created a hole that we just couldn't find an FCS opponent to fill in a situation where they'd have to come back 2 years later. So we even offered guarantees and couldn't find that right number. In the end, we want to win enough games and grow our fan base and our season tickets that we can have 6 home games like Montana. That's our plan for the future, but we have to grow a lot of things. We've got to get more support in the community. We've got to win consistently and build what they've built. We'll get there. But as it stands this year, going into this next year, we had to schedule a game, and that was the game that we could find. So we'll have 5 home games. We hope in the next few years, as we'll have a 6-game schedule or a 12-game schedule opportunity, that we might be able to get 6 games at home. That's the hope. We're going to try for that and fight for that. We're still going to maintain our beliefs in scheduling that we want to play FCS games. We're still going to try to play Big Sky schools in a non-conference setting when we don't play them within the conference schedule, and hope that it's few and far between that we'll have to dip down and play Division II schools or NAIA schools.
The 2018 schedule is set as well. We also have a home-and-home FCS series in 18-19 that's set. So you're already set in 18 and hope to have one opening in 19.
Yeah, so again, we're going to always try to get those FCS games. I think we're going to be with Cal Poly. That's a good trip to go to. We'll have to charter that so our fans can jump on board there with us on the flight. It's a good location, fun location to go to, and a good game for us. So, I think we've demonstrated we're not afraid to play tough games. We played North Dakota State home and home in Jay's first 2 years. That's a tough assignment as a new coach trying to rebuild a program, but it gives you an opportunity to see where you're at, and we're going to continue to do that. As I said before, the plan is to build the program to be able to draw 6 games, but the fan base of Ogden needs to embrace that too, and that's what we're working on.
Basketball season underway now for men's and women's basketball. Women off to a great start with their best start in school history. Basketball season, long season, it goes all the way till March, but underway for both teams.
Yeah, it's a little bittersweet. On the women's side, off to a great start, kind of carrying the momentum from last year into this year. A lot of high aspirations by that team, and we've got some leadership. We lost a few key people, but we've got the core of that leadership going, and they're fun to watch. Very up-tempo and good shooting team. So we'll hope that continues. On the men's side, we're off to a tough start, but and I know that we live in a time where it's easy to lose patience with where we're at, and we've been very fortunate to be very successful. The goal for us is to win our conference and to go to the NCAA tournament. That's still the goal, and we've had some injuries and things that we're working through, but Coach Ray and his staff will get this team ready, I'm confident, to go into conference play. We've got a tough start with some road games and conference play to get going. We'll see what we're made of, but I'm confident we'll get there and get this turned around. So December will be a telling time as we have some pretty tough games on the road and a couple of tough games at home coming up.
Yeah, Wildcats at home December 10th and December 17th. The Utah Valley comes in on December 17th. You wanted to mention also about Bleed Purple magazine is out.
Well, I just think that it's always important to tell our story, and we're able to tell it in a lot of different ways. And I'm so proud of our staff, you and Darren, and those that contribute to that. That publication is top notch. I occasionally get publications from other schools in the mail, Big Ten schools and Pac-12 schools, and I would put up the Bleed Purple magazine against any of them. Now, granted, it's an online publication, so I hope our fans know how to get it. We're sending it out there. We put it on our website. The great pictures, great stories, just a little bit deeper dive into what we're all about here, and I hope that they'll embrace that, along with all the things that we put out there. The Ask the AD, the podcast that will come out this week with Paul Pilkington. You can talk about that a little.
Also one with Jay Hill coming up soon.
Yes, so this is an opportunity to take a little bit of a different approach in interviewing. You and I will sit down with folks. It'll be 30 to 50 minutes, somewhere in there, depending on how much fun we're having. And we'd also like our fans to email us, and you can tell them that address in a second here, but email us and tell us who you want us to talk to, who you're interested in, what kind of questions you might have. And that's a fun forum for us to be able to go a little deeper on some things. We met with Paul recently, and afterward, who's a little bit more reserved guy, coach, and he just said that was a lot of fun, and I was able to get into some things I don't talk about a lot, so we're excited about that.
Well, so check out WeberStateSports.com for all the information on the Wildcats, also on social media. You can email us at WeberStateSports@gmail.com. Jerry, thanks again for joining us. Happy holidays to Wildcat fans. Hope you have a great December, and we'll see you out of the Wildcat games. Go Wildcats.